comfortable, Dooley?
It's comfortable for us tail-enders.
Somebody bowling from 6'8" is Jamieson's height. Never easy. As I said, Jadeja, the key man here, he is what's going to be the difference between India scoring 250 and India probably getting bundled out today. A very critical batsman now.
Also, new challenge for the bowlers. How are they going to control their line and length? Jadeja will be looking to attack. He'll be trying to take most of the strike. There's enough gaps in the field to penetrate and try and get those boundaries as well. He'll trust his tail-enders to bat with him, stay with him, keep the good balls out. But the key really is discipline again, isn't it? Bowl to the tail as if you would to a proper batsman.
Great fielding there by Wagner. But I have a question for you fine gentlemen here. Dooley, you did the pitch report and you were very close to the wicket. I see some brown marks, but I'm very far away from where the wicket is. Is there something for the spinner there? And for you, Kumar, you've played a lot of games, I'm assuming, in Southampton. How does this wicket do for the spinners?
There's foot marks, but mainly the first step, which is far too full for the spinners. So I don't see a lot of help for the spinners at all. The ones that are there are a little bit wide or a little bit full at the moment. So I don't see there being a huge amount of help for the spinners. But having said that, I think Jadeja brings inside edge, outside edge and front pad into play anyway with the way he bowls. So, you know, he's going to be in the game no matter what.
For the spinners here at Southampton, you'll have to be very disciplined, good line and length. Ashwin stall, he'll get some bounce. Jadeja bowls very, very quickly. So he's got that as a point of difference. The pitch here, because of the hover cover, will stay nice and dry and will deteriorate as a normal pitch would over the course of play. I think the real thing for the spinners would be to change of angle. Go around the wicket, over the wicket, bring that slip into play. Bat pad, leg slip. Again, great fielding. So important. Smart as well from de Grandhomme to keep the ball in hand and not risk giving away a single. But in Australia, Dinesh, I think the Indian bowling plan was to take one side of the wicket away from the batsman. They closed off the offside, bowled very, very straight lines, had leg side dominant fields. And that could be another tactic that they use here to induce mistakes from the New Zealand batters.
Just the one run from the first over after lunch, 212 for 7. One thing I did notice is there's not a lot of indentation, DK Sangha. That, to me, that means it's nice and hard underneath. And so the pace, even this afternoon with a little bit of heat, the pace might even increase a touch.
And the pitch drying out. Not sure how long the sunshine will last, but if it does, I think the Indian bowlers will enjoy bowling on it, the fast bowlers especially. And when you have the spinners, in terms of Ashwin, he does have variation. He has a carom ball, he has a top spinner, he's got great revs on the ball, and he's been quite effective against Kane Williamson as well. So they'll be looking for matchups out there in the middle, exploit the new ball, exploit the conditions. At the same time, when the spinners come on, they will play some mind games as well. A field setting and being creative with your field is going to be key for the Indian spinners.
You know, in terms of Ashwin, one of the things he did beautifully in Australia was the fact that he bowled really well to a Steven Smith and a Marnus Labuschagne. And he used the bounce that Australia offered to his advantage. Obviously, he's tall as well. He's got a high release point, so that aids bounce, but he also made use of it. He made it hard for them to come on the front foot and defend him easily, which used to happen before. And that's where he created opportunities consistently against these batters.
Well, that's where Nathan Lyon has been so successful as well. You think about Australian conditions, you don't generally think, apart from Sydney, the SCG, of being turning surfaces, pitches that spin a lot. And so to me, it's around the drop, the dip, everything that Nathan Lyon is about. A little bit of movement, a little bit of dip. He takes the ball away from the right-handers, he brings both edges into play, and he's been incredibly successful.
He also bowls a very attacking line to right-handers, quite a ways outside off stump, turning the ball in. Whereas in Australia went the opposite way, went really, really straight, making sure that if the batsman missed, LBW was in play. The leg side catching fielders came in as well, and one that held its line, the outside edge was in play as well. So Ashwin adapts quite well to the bowling plans that they've discussed with their bowling coach. I think Bharat Arun handles a lot of the bowling tactics for India. But Lyon, again, one thing both those spinners have in common is an enormous amount of revs that they put on the ball, and the seam position that aids bounce and turn.
Ishant Sharma is doing one thing here. He's walking across the stumps. He's got to be careful. If you watched before lunch as well, Saudi was trying to get it around his legs. He tried to bowl a couple just outside leg stump so he can get him bowled. Here for Bolt, he seems to be doing the same thing. If you notice him closely, he stands on the middle stump, but as the bowler comes, here you go. You see the leg stump there. Now that's not a good sign, especially to Trent Bolt. You've got to be very watchful of that.
You reckon Ishant is thinking about all of that, or is he just thinking about watch the ball, get some bat on it, and stay with Jadeja?
Get one, the call is for two. Not sure they'll go back. No, good option. Does get across nicely, but he's still playing it relatively late. It's those long levers into the ball. As he never gives his wicket away. Makes you fight for it time and time again, Ishant, and he's always looking to improve. That's all you can ask from your bowlers and your tail enders. Just try to get better. Leaves it alone. 2:13 for 7. .213 for 7. 91 overs have been bowled. Oh, another play and a miss. He's been outstanding, has Kyle Jamieson. Pick of the bowlers from a New Zealand point of view. Good catch there from Tim Southee. That one to Virat Kohli. And the wide one. 3 wickets for Kyle Jamieson. Just outside the line, I think. No issue there. New Zealand won't be going for that. Swung too much. Got it nice and full, but just swinging too much. Squared him up, got the back pad. Right, Dinesh Karthik, what have you got for us? You've been searching, doing some analysis.
So what makes Jamieson really hard to play? It's the bounce. And where does this bounce come? It's from his release point. Generally, the bowlers are around the 2-meter mark. Jamieson is around the 2.3-meter mark. So when a bowler like Jamieson comes to bowl, most batsmen would tell you, you got to look slightly higher than you normally would.
Back live to edge, and Taylor takes the catch. So on cue, the bounce, the movement from Kyle Jamieson picks up another. He's now got 4, and Ross Taylor fairly comfortable as Ishant Sharma goes.
Exactly what we were speaking about. Ishant Sharma walking across, getting into a line of the ball that probably he could have left it on height, but his technique has made him play at this. And this is the beauty of Jamieson, the ability to extract extra bounce on a Southampton wicket. Great areas, safe hands that from Ross Taylor. A typical tail-ender's dismissal. Ishant Sharma walking out, 4. Caught Taylor bowling Jamieson.
Now Rich again, 14.71 to what?
Good on. 3-2. Give me that number. I'll just throw a 3-8 and wing for 3-8.
That's
It's a 3-7.
it begs the question. That last ball that he plays, it's going to bring it.
Jasprit Bumrah, another man who's worked hard on his batting. He'd worked very hard throughout that Australian tour as well to try and get better. Kyle Jamieson on the brink of another test match 5-wicket haul.
Bumrah not too keen to face him. Just backing away for the moment. Just telling him, just wait. Give me some time. Let me think if I want to play you or not.
At some stage, you've got to try and hit the ball. Oh, right on the toe, given. Plumb in front, 5 for Kyle Jamieson. 5th time in Test match cricket in an early part of his career. He is absolutely shining from a New Zealand point of view.
Yeah, Bumrah took his time, but unfortunately Jamieson too good. He's been brilliant this morning. Great control, as you see from his figures. Another 5 for full, swinging in. And quite a ways from middle stump when it did strike him. The angle might be taking it down leg side, but then again, Jasprit Bumrah has to walk off for a duck. India 213 for 9.
Mohammad Shami walking in. India in dire straits. And here we go. Kyle Jamieson on a hat-trick. Mohammad Shami facing him.
Wow, what a start for Mohammad Shami. Off through cover point for 4. Into the over, 217 for 9.
Well, that's one way you play a hat-trick delivery from Jamieson. But interesting, India had 2 reviews left. Jadeja there as a senior player. Maybe it was time for him to say, listen, we'll take one of the reviews. It's a free review, really. We had nothing to lose. And the ball was swinging a long way towards leg stump.
Yes. Jamieson, the man on screen, bowled brilliantly for New Zealand. 5 for 31. He's going to be really proud of that. The World Test Championship final. First man to do it. Everybody's going to remember that for sure.
Julie, the key there really for me is the economy rate, 1.41. And that's really kept New Zealand in the game, really stifled India. And that's what allowed them to build a lot of pressure and bowl wicket-taking deliveries from both ends.
Well, it's been his MO right through the early part of his career. Just his 8th Test match. So often he's been miserly, very difficult to get away. Another 5-wicket bag today. Little problem behind the sight screen at the moment. I don't know who that is.
The last time Bumrah didn't want to play a ball, he got out the next one. It's going to be very interesting to see what Jadeja comes up with now.
The field set back. Deep point. Extra's gone quite a ways deep. And Jamieson, the man of the moment, the man of this innings for New Zealand in terms of bowling. Outswinger. Bumrah comes in, takes his time, but falls to a hooping in-swinger. Really well set up. And well thought out. New Zealand looking to stifle Jadeja here as well, taking away his boundary options. And Jadeja is left with no choice. Well, we were all wrong, weren't we? Very smart of Jadeja not to take that review. Very smart. What do we know up here, Dooley?
I thought it looked like it was worth a review. Absolutely. But it was so full. And that was the case. Not ever sure it was going to miss the stumps, but I thought it might have been worth a review just to see. So we've got a, what would you call that? Duck egg blue? Duck egg blue? If I know my colour charts.
Sangha says it's Robin's egg. It's a nice blue, that.
Is it blue in the first place?
Now he comes up with the, is it a blue in the first place?
I can tell you something, my eyes are no good nowadays. So. Well, it's not, I mean, the ball is red and it's not exactly a similar colour. Surely, Sangha, come on. I mean, I know I never even bothered whether there was a sight screen there or not, but surely you can see the red ball out of that.
No, cannot agree with you there. You've spoken like a true fast bowler again, Dooley. It's a tough job batting in Test cricket or any format of cricket. You get one opportunity. If you make a mistake, you're done. You need to have everything in order. The sight screen, without it, we batsmen, we cannot bat. Impossible. We stop play and we wait.
You don't want a Robin's egg to get you out.
Wickets to fall today. Kyle Jamieson picking up the Indian skipper Kohli, trapped in front. Michael Goff says that's out. Rishabh Pant a little bit loose. Good catch from Tom Latham at second slip. And then Wagner, this was inexplicable, you would say, from Ajinkya Rahane. Southey picking up the wicket of Ashwin. Another one for Latham. Everywhere he's been today, the ball has followed. Great hands. Short time ago, Ross Taylor with the catch off the bat of Ishant Sharma, and then the LBW of Jasprit Bumrah. He's bowled a few of those in his time, and he's got one back. After that opening partnership of 62, which looked very good. Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill, a little partnership in the middle as well. Kohli and Ajinkya Rahane took the score from 88 through to 149. 217 for 9. New Zealand will be very pleased with the second day after we started at 146 for 3. Here are those partnerships, 62 and 61, the two that I've talked about. And the standout performer on those bowling figures there, Kyle Jamieson, 22 overs, 5 for 31. Richard has passed me a list of the lowest Test bowling averages. Qualification of 15 innings. This is the lowest ever. George Lohmann in 1886 to 1896. 36 innings, average of 10.75 with the ball. J.J. Ferris from 1887 to 1897, 16 innings, average of 12.70 with the ball. And Kyle Jamieson, obviously lately, 15 innings, an average of 14.41 now, I think, after that boundary.
Very impressive, isn't it? Great start to his Test career, very disciplined. Great lengths and great control. Play's about to get underway, and one of the things that doesn't really come up on a chart is how good Kane Williamson has been as a captain this morning. His field settings have been proactive, his bowling changes have been very good, especially setting up Rahane and watching him play that kind of half swivel pull. And that really was a great sign for New Zealand today.
Is that glove? Is that glove? He's given him, and Jadeja's on his way. Leg side, look to clip it. And Ravi Jadeja falls. The final wicket. New Zealand have bowled India out in the first innings for 217.
The Oracle, Dinesh Karthik, called it again, didn't he? He said every time a batsman's taken some time, stopped a bowler mid-run up, a wicket has fallen. And no change here as well. Jadeja stifled down leg side. Not intentional, yes, but a bowler will take any wicket, no matter how it comes, as a batsman would take runs off the inside or outside edge. It's a great bowling performance by New Zealand. India, 217, slightly below par with the conditions. New Zealand walking back with smiles and confidence.
6 minutes it took for that sight screen mishap. And then one ball later, the innings was all over. Very good performance after an indifferent time yesterday. We get a round of applause from a very good New Zealand crowd that is in. Indian fans as well. Bowling coach happy. Teammates very happy as well. 5-wicket haul for Kyle Jamieson, his 5th in just his 8th Test match. It'll be time for the batsmen to get their pads on, gloves on, and do their job now. It will not be easy though, and I think that scorecard tells you exactly why. You can get in, but you never really feel in on this sort of surface. 34-28 at the top of the order for Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill. Pujara batted for 54 deliveries, but couldn't really get going. Kohli and Rahane were good for their 44 and 49, and then a small contributions at the back end from Ravi Jadeja and Ravichandran Ashwin.
Jamieson, the standout, he's been wonderful this morning. Wrestled back control from India. Saudi, 1 wicket for him, Bolt with 2. Wagner working hard for his 2 wickets, but Jamieson with 5 was the star.
It's sure to be a testing opening spell for New Zealand's batsmen. So Kohli has set just 3 slips, not an overly attacking field at all. He's got 2 men square the wicket on the offside, saving 1. Here's Ishant Sharma around the wicket to Latham. Just a reminder of this New Zealand batting lineup. It's a strong lineup. They bat deep. Probably one point of difference between the teams is the depth of New Zealand's batting. But it's strong there with Latham, Conway, the outstanding Williamson at 3, Ross Taylor coming towards the end of his international career, but we saw in the last Test match, perfectly capable still. Henry Nicholls, a very solid player. And then that lower middle order that will provide useful runs. De Grandon, Jamieson, Wagner at 10. Might come in ahead of Tim Southey. Good start movement there. It's going to be tough, Sonny, for these openers.
Yes, it is going to be tough, Athers, because the ball's still moving around. We had a little spot of sunshine for maybe about 10 minutes or so, and now we've got overcast conditions again. The ball's moving in the air off the surface. I won't be too surprised that if the umpires have a look at their light meters, because it has gone a little bit dark.
Kohli has made an early field change, as you can see on the field plot there. An extra man has come in on the leg side, taken from one of those two fielders behind square on the offside. That's to encourage Ishant Sharma to bowl straight, to attack Latham straight, and giving him a bit of cover on the leg side to allow him to bowl that straight line. Bish, what will India's seamers have learned from the New Zealand bowlers from what they've seen over the first bit of this game?
That there's obvious movement in the surface. You get rewarded when you bowl a good length. Now every bowler is different and they'll have their own stock length to bowl, but someone like Ishant Sharma, although he's tall, not as tall as Jamieson, with his wrist position can get the ball to angle in and seam away from the left-handers at the top.
And it's very good field placing. You can see that. Straight away, 2 back-to-back deliveries have gone to that fielder there. Otherwise, without that protection, Ishant tends to bowl just a little outside the left-hander's off stump. The left-hander can then leave him alone, knowing that Ishant doesn't really, at the start of his spell, have one that can nip back at him. He does bowl the cross-seam delivery, which can hold its line, come back into the left-hander slightly. Over the wicket, 69, that's his average.
Yeah, that graphic just shows why Ishant Sharma is around the wicket straight away to Tom Latham, who averages only just a tick over 20 from round the wicket compared to almost 70 from over the wicket. Sharma is a good bowler from this angle as well, because he can take it away to the slips.
Again, I think just watching Tom Latham over the years, Michael and Sonny, he's very, very good at forcing you to bowl at him. Judges his off stump well.
Tickles one round the corner to get his account up and running, 1 for 0.
It's on middle, centre, middle.
Just looking at Jasprit Bumrah, who is going to bowl from over the wicket, having mentioned the vulnerability that Latham has from right arm seamers targeting from round the wicket. Bumrah will just stick to bowling over for now. 3 slips again, set by Kohli with the extra man on the offside now.
Yes, the extra man on the offside, because Bumrah bowling over the wicket will concentrate on the left-hander's off stump. Ishant Sharma on the other hand, bowling round the wicket, was sometimes angling onto the pads, and so he could be tucked away for runs in that mid-wicket area. So good thinking this is by Virat Kohli, the captain. He doesn't have too many runs on the board. He doesn't want to give any easy runs to the New Zealanders.
I think a lot of us are very pleased just as cricket watchers for this giant of a man. Mentioned he's a good addition to the world game. A 5th 5-wicket haul for him, only 8th test match, only 2nd away from home. So tougher days may lie ahead in varying conditions. But because he's 6'8" and loves pitching the ball up, and he will learn to pull his length back if and when it's necessary, these New Zealand supporters should feel proud, so do the captain and coach, that Kyle Jamieson is a part of their army that has taken them, helped take them to #1 in the world and this final.
Yeah, an outstanding start to his international career. 5 wicket hauls in just 8 matches. It's incredible.
And he can bat handily down the order. So, what a cricketer to have in your team.
Sonny, I know you were quarantining ahead of getting here for this World Test Championship final, but did you get to see any of Devon Conway in that 2 Test match series between England and New Zealand?
No, sadly no. But anybody who gets a double 100 on debut has to be a special player. And then he got an 80 in the next test as well, in difficult conditions, so I was told.
Yeah, you're in for a treat, I think. You'll like the look of him when you watch him play. If he gets in, he played beautifully against England in those 2 Test matches. It was hard to pick a weakness in those couple of games, but if there was one, it was just occasionally on that kind of line, a tight line with the ball maybe just straightening up on him, where he looked as though he might possibly drag the ball onto the stumps from an inside edge.
Yes, I think that was pretty close. He played just a little bit away from the pads, and Bumrah can get the ball to move back in just that little bit. But if I might put my tongue in my cheek, Athers, I'll say this is one of those strange things where a South African has gone to New Zealand and not to England to play Test cricket.
Well, it's true. I have no comeback to that, I'm afraid. 2 from 2. He's not the first to make that journey to New Zealand, though. Neil Wagner, of course, BJ Watling, but he was a very young man when his family moved to New Zealand. Colin de Grandhomme from Zimbabwe, and it's been a long journey for Devon Conway to international cricket. He's 29 years of age, played a lot of first-class cricket in South Africa, made his move and a new life in Wellington.
There's Grant Elliott as well, who smashed that 6 of Dale Steyn in the semi-finals in the 2015 World Cup. So smashed a 6 of his former South Africa against his former country.
He just looked a very good all-round player. Looked incredibly composed on that debut at Lord's, his first innings, against a top-class attack. Broad and Anderson, of course, who've got plenty of wickets between them, in conditions where the ball was moving, not quite as extravagantly as here, perhaps. but he looked a very good player.
Just a little short, the length from Ishant Sharma. Just like New Zealand were bowling just a little bit short, which allowed the batsman to withdraw the bat at the last moment, not play at it. But when they bowled a much fuller length, New Zealand today, they got the wickets, they got the rewards. And that's what India need to do. India need to learn from what New Zealand did, the New Zealand bowlers did this morning, and bowl the same lines and same lengths. Get the batsman forward, get him committed. Excellent line from Ishant Sharma around the wicket. Conway will have it in his mind that the ball may come in on the angle, so he has to play. That's a length, but maybe a little fuller up, which will get the batsman committed to a shot. Late movement can get the edges.
Pretty good over that. 3 for none, 3 gone. Outnumbered for sure here at the Hampshire Bowl, but enjoying the situation right now with India bundled out for 217. Hasn't taken Jasprit Bumrah long to change his angle and attack Latham from round the wicket. And it was Jasprit Bumrah who took the first hat-trick of the World Test Championship. That came in the second Test match of the West Indies India series. And remarkable performance. 6 for 27. Roston Chase, Shamar Brooks and Darren Bravo, all members of the Jasprit Bumrah hat-trick club. Good pace, terrific pace, nice carry through to Rishabh Pant.
Yes, this was at Kingston, Jamaica. India got 416 with Vihari scoring 100. And in the second innings it declared, Vihari got runs again, 53 not out. Bumrah was terrific. Got a hat-trick.
Inside edge, and probably a good job as far as Latham was concerned.
You can see why bowlers will come round the wicket to Tom Latham for me. Ishant and I suppose Jasprit Bumrah as well, because of uniqueness in their action, can angle the ball in as so many do now and take it away. But you've got to try to draw Latham's bat away from the safe area, and it takes some doing because he's so patient. Like that. I think he's been a good player. He's been one of the best opening batsmen in the world for the last 3 years or so, along with Dimuth Karunaratne. You've got David Warner. Opening batting, Sonny, in the last 3 years around the world has been really hard with Duke's ball and grass pitches, which is a good thing for the game. Latham has been one of the best. Takes some removing.
Opening batsman batting, Bish, has always been hard, as Athas will agree with me.
Lovely leaning into the drive, slightly over pitch from Jasprit Bumrah, and that will give Tom Latham a good deal of confidence.
Yes, good shot, but that's the kind of length that you would actually want. This one maybe just a little too full. But what you want is the batsman looking to play at the ball, maybe a little push, because then the ball moves, you get the edge. Yes, India don't have too many runs to be able to give away boundaries like that, but they want to look at wickets. They've got to maybe tempt the batsman to play that drive, that push drive, which we saw getting Ravichandran Ashwin out or Rohit Sharma out.
Four overs done, 7 for none. Run that in next over.
Let's go, boys.
Shami's one in for
Yeah, that difficulty that Ian Bishop and Sunil Gavaskar were talking about, opening the batting, generally tough, but in England in recent years a little tougher still, because floodlights on, often playing in conditions where before the advent of floodlights you might not play, so you play in many more bowler friendly conditions these days under floodlights.
Oh, I see.
Bish, you were here last year when West Indies toured. Memories of this surface, how you think it's going to change over the next few days?
You just ask wrong people questions. Look, Simon Dole has had a look at it before the match and during lunch today, and that tinge of green on a hard surface has offered movement to the seam bowlers for the duration so far, and I think it'll depend on overhead conditions. It's pretty cloudy, so the ball hasn't done as much as I thought it would have done for Jasprit and for Ishant Sharma. But I think there's still something in the surface. If the sun comes out, maybe we'll start to see it grip for the slow men. I still think Ashwin in particular against the left-handers here has a part to play if they're there for any protracted period, Sonny and Michael.
Well, there's no harm in bringing him on with the hard new ball as well, because he's such a clever bowler. We've seen him make very good use of the ball that swings away, which will be the one that comes into the left-hander, wrap them on the pads, get an LBW. Nothing wrong with trying him early on, because he loves bowling to the left-handers in particular. I mean, all off-spinners love bowling to the left-handers.
He was looking to hit that straighter. He was looking for the gap at extra cover or to Ashwin's right hand at mid-off. And the late movement from Ishant Sharma took that skewing off a thickish outside edge past gully.
That's exactly what I'm saying. There might be... See, he's played a little bit away, but he's been asked to come forward to look at the push drive, and the odd one might actually go into the slipped hands.
Yeah, you could see after connection the way that Conway spun his head round. That's not where he was looking for the ball to go. There are 3 slips. There's a fine gully. A man right on square at point. He doesn't want to be playing there. Not at Ishant Sharma, not with a new ball, not in England. 11 for none.
You still can't get over the Englishman asking the West Indian how a pitch in Southampton, his home, will play.
If looks could kill, we weren't on com camera, but the look that you gave me was one of utter disdain and disgust.
You take your role too seriously, lead commentator, so don't answer anything. Come on, what's your opinion?
Well, I don't have a clue, quite frankly. Conditions, overhead conditions, so important, as we've seen in England the last few years. When the clouds are in, the floodlights are on, it is a wholly different game.
I don't want to seem I'm hugging the mic here, but it's a real battle. Great seam position. For me, there's such great stories. Tom Latham's father played for New Zealand in the 90s. Rob Latham, he didn't wear a shirt like that. That's repulsive. Opened the batting in ODI cricket. And the Devon Conway story, to me, is great. It preempted this tour. Come back to that. Yeah, I mean, Devon Conway grew up in South Africa, was playing his franchise cricket there. As the story is well told, I'm sure it was told over and over during the New Zealand-England series, and was in and out of the team, couldn't get his numbers up, and there was one point he came to where he felt he was maybe not being given a fair run, and he was going to go to the coaches and say, look, I need to get a fair run, but he didn't have the numbers to back it up, he said, so he did not go to them. That's being very honest and humble. And for viewers, sold everything that he had, and he had a few things, and decided to emigrate to New Zealand to make a better fist of his cricket career. It's very, as I said, realistic about his lack of scores, But it's an encouragement to everyone that it's never too late to show self-improvement and technical improvement. I just think he's a humble guy, but so diligent and hard-working. And all the runs over the last 3 years, domestically and internationally, white ball cricket, brilliant.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think when you've been made to wait for your chance, as Conway has had to, you're more likely to absolutely grab it with both hands when it comes.
And he was piling it up. That's the thing. He was piling it up domestically way before this England series, this England-New Zealand tour. So it hasn't just happened. It's been building. International white ball cricket, he's been super.
That's good from Latham. Just cast your mind back to the previous 2 or 3 balls. 2 or 3 very good leaves, with Bumrah probing just outside off stump, maybe an inch or 2 outside off stump. Latham leaving, encouraging Bumrah to come to him, and then knocking him through the leg side off a slightly fuller length. Excellent batting.
Too much. Off stump. Thank you.
There's a man just hovering quite deep. You can see him circle there on the field plot, and that's where Conway was caught out in the second Test match at Edgbaston. He flips the ball in the air sometimes on the leg side, and that's why that man is hovering deep. 6 overs, 12 for none.
Quite a structured team then. Don't give them easy ones, boys. Let them hit the big shots. Come on.
Get us one easy one.
Do it now, he's going to be hammering away here.
Oh, we're starting.
You can see the dark clouds have rolled in again. Floodlights still on. Very friendly bowling conditions. Haven't yet seen that much movement in the air for Sharma or Bumrah. Sometimes you have to wait with these Duke's balls till the lacquer is removed. Often there can be more movement at around about the 15 or 20 over mark. Ishant has just asked the groundsman to come and repair those footholes. Well, let's have a look in the build-up of the run-up to this World Test Championship final. India's leading wicket takers, Ravi Ashwin, top of the pile with 67 wickets in 13 matches, a fine average of a little under 21, but that he's followed by Sharma and Shami and Bumrah. Excellent all-round attack. Although the first time, I think, Sonny, that these 5 have been put together in a Test match, the 2 spinners and the 3 seamers.
That's right. I think in India they normally go with 2 seamers and 2 spinners. But this is one of those rare occasions. What has happened really is Rishabh Pant coming good at number 6 has allowed them to play 5 bowlers, 2 spinners who can bat a bit, and we saw that today. Ashwin got a useful 22, and Jadeja hung around. He wasn't quite able to hit the ball around as India would have liked. And then the 3 seam bowlers. So India's had a very well balanced team for the last couple of years, thanks mainly to Rishabh Pant coming good at number 6.
Showed you the leading wicket takers for India in the World Test Championship. Leading run scorers for New Zealand. No surprise to see Kane Williamson top of the pops there with 817 runs, an average of just a little under 60, but it's a top-class lineup. Alongside him, Latham, Nicholls, Taylor, Watling, all very experienced, all hardened campaigners, and now the addition of Devon Conway as well. Good judgment so far from Latham around that off stump.
I first saw Ishant Sharma here in 2007 on the tour of England when I think it was Rahul Dravid captaining the team and India beat England in that series 2007. He's been on 3 tours previously, and it's an interesting action in the way that his front leg collapses, the wrist by extension just slants a little bit and allows him to shape the ball away. It's different from Kyle Jamieson. Neither one I'm saying is worse or better. Hard work to get Latham to play away. And I think it's an interesting look for young viewers. Look at Jamieson and how braced that front leg is. He gets the maximum height out of his body. Ishant, with that front leg, collapses and he sinks into the floor and therefore decreases his height. He's not as tall as Jamieson anyway. And I think the impact of all of that is Jamieson maximizes what pace he gets out of his body, whereas Ishant just loses a little bit. So it's not a criticism of Ishant's action because he's had enough success. It's just different. And the wrist position is laid off sometimes.
Seven overs done, 12 for none.
Two high-quality bowlers in operation. Two men back on the leg side. And the threat of Jasprit Bumrah is not just his ability with the ball pitching it up with the seam movement, but also because of the pace he bowls. That's always a threat with a short ball. Devon Conway looked assured and composed in the recent series against England. We heard from Bish there what a phenomenal story it is, moving to New Zealand in 2017, taking his life with him, averaging 50 in all 3 formats. It's only the early stages of his career, but the only other man doing that is Nasser.
It's not me, no.
And that is why there is so much to like about Devon Conway. Incredible purity in that shot.
Yeah, the other man is obviously Kohli. What a drive this is. All I'll say about Conway is that usually by the time you get to your third test match, people have found a weakness in your game. People have said, right, bowl outside off, bowl straight, bowl a short ball, bowl spin. I'm yet to find a weakness in his game.
Close, but maybe height.
Anything, it's that. He inside edges a lot. He gets his head just slightly outside the line. We did the stat earlier. I think he's had something like 35 inside edges and just 3 outside edges in his test career. Just gets outside the line with his head a fraction. So if you can nip it back in, that's bouncing way over.
Yeah, he likes to protect that outside edge, doesn't he, Nas? Which, you know, then does cause some problems in some other areas, but you have to say it's a pretty solid technique so far. He's made an excellent start to Test cricket.
Knew it was coming at some stage.
Inside edge onto that one, so as you mentioned, a lot of inside edges, which is always handy. Takes out LBW, and yep, that's a reaction from Virat Kohli. I think one of the challenges, or one of the things that the best players in the world do, is they hide their weaknesses better than other players. He's made a good start.
Who bowled a bit, but Ashwin and Jadeja, so that will be his next challenge, to show the world that he can play world-class spin.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's regarded as a very fine player of spin bowling, but playing well against spinners in New Zealand is very different to around the world.
Craig, can I talk to you about the lad at the other end, Tom Latham? You were New Zealand batting coach. We showed those stats earlier, the discrepancy from over the wicket, round the wicket. He much prefers it over the wicket. I know England goes straight away round the wicket. I think it's like 60 from over, 20 from round. How aware is he of that, and what were you doing with him to try and counter that?
Yeah, he's aware of it, Ness, because we talked round and over. He's very good bowler coming over. He's got the right angles, his alignment's good, he can leave well, and there's just that change of angle coming around where actually he's left a number of balls that have either come into off stump or he's been LBW. So what we used to do is to throw a lot more balls, face a lot more bowlers from around the wicket, change that angle. And so it's something that he's worked hard on, because I think as a left-hander, naturally, a lot of bowlers feel more comfortable bowling right arm over to left-handers. So coming around is not quite as easy or comfortable for bowlers. I think that's changed a bit, and now you see, once you see perhaps something that's looked as a bit of a weakness, you can see in the bowling plans of international sides, they do come around, and that makes sense when you look at those numbers. But the key to his game plan and his success has been his discipline around off stump and forcing the bowler to bowl at him.
England obviously have had success around the wicket because they've got 2 opening bowlers who love bowling round the wicket to left-handers. Broad, as he dismissed Warner all those times in the Ashes, and Anderson does it differently. He goes round the wicket and angles it towards the slip cordon.
Ishant Sharma and Stuart Broad probably the best 2 in the world at the moment, bowling round the wicket to the left-handers, just because of the way they're able to shape the ball, and that's very much to do with the wrist. Being able to get behind the ball, it's an unnatural angle, but to be able to get that right takes a lot of skill. And then, of course, there's the one that goes straight on as well, which creates the issues, and why he's picked up so many wickets against left-handers, Ishant Sharma. Mohamed Shami in the lineup. First test back since breaking his wrist in the Adelaide Test. That was a big blow for India, and it was a real test of their resources. 20 players used on that tour, and they were outstanding. And you think of Mohamed Siraj, who I'm sure would have been licking his lips to play in this match.
Just to go back to that point about right arm seam bowlers bowling around the wicket to left-handers. Back in 2006, only 14% of all deliveries bowled from right-arm seamers to left-handers were from around the wicket. Now, 2020, that number has gone up to 56%. So almost half the deliveries bowled now are around the wicket to left-handers. So you think 10, 15 years ago, left-handers didn't have to really deal with that problem, and now they're getting half their deliveries from that different change of angle.
Yeah, Nathan Lehman, the England stats guy, has done a really good book about over the wicket and why left-handers, why there's an abundance of left-handers in Test cricket now for that reason. Pitching outside leg, if you go over the wicket, round the wicket, got more of a chance. 17 for none.
I like stats guy.
Analyst, sorry. We used to call him stats guy. Now it's analyst. Nickname numbers. Sorry, Nath.
Centre, middle.
Here comes Mohamed Shami. Quality bowler. 180 wickets in his Test career. He was unlucky on the last India tour here. But what can he do? In conditions that suit him, Latham able to get it away. The length that he bowls is an interesting one for me. I think his natural length is actually just a good length, back of a length, and here he'll want to bowl it slightly fuller.
Yeah, you're right, Isha. You want to hit the top of off stump. That will be the length you'll have to find early. This is the one Indian pacer that worries me from a New Zealand point of view, because he's a seamer, so he will have the ability to nip the ball in and away from the left-handers. He's got a very good record against New Zealand. He bowled well in the last tour to New Zealand in the one-day series and the Test matches. And I think that New Zealand batsman, because he is a bit quicker than what you think, he hurries you up. They'll have to be careful. Finding that natural length that brings the stumps into play, so then it brings LBW still into play, is going to be very important for Shami early in this spell.
I actually think the two players that the length that you need to bowl on this pitch in these conditions comes most naturally to Ishant Sharma and Mohamed Siraj, who's not playing. He bowls a naturally fuller length, which is why he's been so successful in just his 5 Test matches. Full shot.
Yeah, just a little bit of bounce there. Up the top of the bat, didn't carry to gully. Ajinkya Rahane in that gully area. Keep an eye on the catching from India. New Zealand caught brilliantly, apart from just one Saudi put down. The keeping was excellent. It's going to be a key part when you have a seam attack like this in these conditions. Got to catch well.
Very similar bowling to the right-handers compared to the left-handers. Ability to swing it both ways. And very good with the old ball, good at reversing the ball. beats the edge. And this is what we saw so often in 2018. I've just been handed a note. It induced the most false shots in that series. 26% were false shots, beating the edge.
Did you see that seam position? That was just a lovely seam position now. A bit of shine from the floodlights as well. As a batsman, that's trouble all over it.
Right. 19 for no loss. That rain just starting to threaten again.
India need to get round here. Just make sure that they get this over. And it doesn't look like this could be the famous last words, but it looks bright in the distance. So I don't think it's going to be that torrential rain we've had.
I think that's the way the clouds are heading, actually, Nas.
Monsoonal rains to come after that, but it looks okay.
No, you're being very positive and I like it, Nas. It was forecast to be good all day long. So even if they do come off, it'll only be for a short while. It's just got a little bit heavier, so umpires are taking the players off. Quite naturally, Virat Kohli wants to stay there.
Yeah, I've just been looking at the radar. There's just one little shower. India realising that and don't really want to go, but the umpire's saying that the pitch is getting a little bit greasy with the rain coming down. Don't think this is going to be long. That's why Virat Kohli and his slip cordon haven't moved. It's almost like they've got 9 slips standing there now.
Yeah. No stress. Do you want to do it next over or? I'm happy to do it this over.
Do you need to see it before you do it?
I'd like to see.
Do it during the next step.
Okay.
Getting back into the groove again, Ishant Sharma. He's getting that lovely shape on the ball, but just wants to start it a bit straighter and pitch it up a little bit more. You can see it's quite dark and gloomy over to the right of our screen. You'll see it's strong right now. That is the cloud they're worried about. It looks very threatening.
That last delivery was good for Ishant Sharma. That's where he has to be. Got to be dragging both New Zealand's left-handers forward. Round the wicket, angling in and then just holding its line, hitting that outside edge. It's a beautiful piece of bowling. Seam angling towards the slips and away from the left-hander.
Yeah, it's tremendous skill to be able to hold it like that with the wrist, because the way he naturally bowls right arm over, angled into the right-hander, it's a lot easier for him with his wrist to be able to get it in the correct position and the release point to get the wrist behind the ball.
Yeah, bowlers can do that. What they sometimes lose is the wrist to get the outswinger going. Stuart Broad for a while lost that. Mainly he bowled cutters in the UAE. See if he can get his wrist the other way when the right-handers come in so he can move it away from the right-hander.
Capacity of 4,000 expected for each day of the test match. Managed to get Dad down here to watch a bit of cricket.
Nice little Father's Day present, Isha.
Made an over bowl, 19 for no loss. Yeah, his first cricket that he's seen since lockdown live. Well, he's been to a few over the years. The 1966 World Cup final. Was it the 1983 World Cup final?
Come on, Sammy. You're a wicket boy, come on.
You remember that Kapil Dev catch?
I'm guessing you bought that ticket for your dad for Father's Day, Isha. It wouldn't be a freebie, would it? I mean, you wouldn't want to do that as a present, would you? Ish?
Carl Jamieson's been good today. Just looking at the way Mohammad Shami's been bowling so far, it's only been, 8 balls. But one of the reasons why I think he's had that false shot percentage is because of the length that he bowls. And if he pitches it up a little bit more, then that might induce the stroke and bring the slips into play.
Both players have been leaving on length really well, so that says that India have probably been a touch short. Just drag that length up a little bit fuller, get both New Zealand players on the front foot.
And that's exactly what Jamieson did today. He was a little bit short yesterday, but today he bowled a fuller length. That was full to Rohit Sharma yesterday. And then the big wicket, Virat Kohli nipped back up. 3 reds on review. Kohli was gone, and then a flash, changing angle from round to over the wicket to Rishabh Pant. And then he was all over the Indians. The tail, he just blew him away. Outswing, in swing. What a start to his international career.
Yep, he's had a wonderful start to his Test career. A dream come true.
For me, Test cricket's the pinnacle, and to have this context around what is the ultimate form of the game, in my opinion, is great. And just to be a part of this occasion, and it's going to be special and something that I'll cherish forever. And yeah, hopefully we can go out there and give it a good shot.
And at the over 19 for no loss. Yeah, Craig.
Really interesting talking about Kyle Jamieson there, that he's averaging about 14 in Test cricket in his 8th Test match, five wicket hauls. Just been an amazing start. T20 cricket, where he went big in the IPL to RCB. I think he went for 2.8 mil. He's averaging 70 with the ball and 38 in one-day international cricket. So just not to put a dampener on things, but he's still new to international cricket, and there's still a lot of learning for him to go, especially in the white ball formats, which I think he will be very, very good at over time. But it's been Test cricket that he's really found his niche at the moment in international cricket.
The Punjabi doll is here and in full force. Lots of drums, and Kohli is enjoying himself. That's what we've missed about fans. How's your Bhangra?
No, just no.
Yeah, focus on Ashwin. I'm sure we'll see him at some point before the tea break.
Of our conversation of why bowlers have gone from over the wicket to round the wicket from left-handers for left-handers. Usman Khawaja just tweeted in, bowlers bowled less around the wicket in 2006 because there wasn't DRS and umpires didn't give it out with the angle. But now that there is DRS, bowlers are more willing to do it because there is a higher chance of getting LBWs. Just my thoughts from Uzi. That very good thoughts, I have to be honest. The DRS and the effect of the DRS. Usman Khawaja going very well in the PSL at the moment, getting some runs. Very valid point.
It's a very good point. So would you then say that DRS has been more favourable for the bowlers or the batsmen in total?
Spinners have liked it, definitely.
Definitely bowlers.
Yeah, happy to play the short ball, Devon Conway. Haven't seen too many of them because of the conditions. But there was Short ball barrage from Mark Wood when he came into the attack at Lords to Conway, and he did trouble him a little bit. Of course, Jasprit Bumrah is probably the quickest in this bowling attack. But persisting with the full stuff at the moment because of the conditions that they've got. No! 20 for no loss. Lovely setting here at the Hampshire Bowl. Golf course not being used at the moment, Nas. Which is probably a good thing for you. Someone who did take advantage of the golf course was Craig McMillan, and I believe you've got something for us. Peak too soon after this ball.
That was dark.
Well, I think it's going to land safely. It does. Did it do something extra off the pitch?
That's twice now, isn't it? One to Latham, and that one, was it to Conway? Yeah. Just bounced. The one to Latham landed short of Gully Rahane. This one went way over Gully and the slip Gordon. And they were chasing back trying to catch it. He's always that little bit quicker than you think, Shami. He's got that quick arm. Don't just look at the speed gun and what it tells you. He just hurries batsmen.
Yeah, we've seen good bounce and carry throughout this test match. And again, causing problems. Over to you, Macca.
I just want to talk about a couple of differences in terms of where the new batsmen from both sides are standing in their stance. You can see Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma batting on the edge of their crease, and both New Zealanders, Conway and Latham, actually inside their crease, meaning that they're a little bit further away. The Indian batsman got out further, got closer to the ball at that inception point. The blue is the New Zealand players who are a little bit deeper in their crease, which allows the ball to do a little bit more, and I think on this surface is a little bit more dangerous. And just another point to that, when India toured New Zealand back in 2020 and lost the Test Series 2-0 to New Zealand, their inception point was 1.75 from the middle stump. So they were close to the stumps in New Zealand where they batted. In this final so far, that inception point from the stumps has been 2 metres 12. So a difference of 37 centimetres. It's quite a big difference in terms of your stance and where you stand in your crease. A good adjustment has been made by India.
Those couple of deliveries from Mohammad Shami, how does that affect your mindset as a batsman?
No, you just got to put it behind you, really. There's not been indifferent bounce in this pitch. There's just been two that bounce. It's been the sideways movement that's been the concern, and that's what you'll be thinking. What India should be thinking, lacquer off the ball, maybe now a swing bowler. Actually, looking out on the pitch, they're thinking different. I see Ravi Ashwin warming up. So two left-handers, the next challenge may well be spin. Certainly wouldn't be taking Shami off. That is for certain. Shami stays on at that pavilion end, and Ashwin's going to have a go against the two left-handers. So to answer your question, put that behind you and now start thinking about the skills of Ashwin and whether you should just sit on him, or if in these conditions you should be positive against Ashwin and don't let him bowl so you can rotate the seamers at the other end.
Challenging times, 22 for no loss.
India bowler for 217. 49 to Rahane, 44 to Kohli. Kyle Jamieson, the star for New Zealand. 5 for 31, his fifth 5-wicket haul in just his 8th Test match, and he was superb. India haven't been able to find the same lateral movement as New Zealand did, but now we have the first over of spin in the match. Ravi Ashwin, and it's a good change to make. He enjoys Dinesh Karthik and Michael Atherton. Dinesh bowling against the left-handers, a good record in international cricket. What are you expecting?
He's a top bowler against left-handers. I remember in 2018 when we came, Alistair Cook, first wicket for us on the tour, and the man to take it, R. Ashwin. The beauty about him bowling to left-handers is the fact that not only does he have variations, but the ability to drift the ball in the air. As you can see, there's not much turn for the moment, but I'm sure as he gets into the groove, he'll get the odd one to turn, and that will cause the confusion for the batsman.
Come on, Asha.
Good move, Captain Atherton.
Interesting move. First bit of spin that we've seen in the game. Be fascinating to see in these, what you imagine to be seam bowling friendly conditions, how New Zealand's batsmen approach the playing of spin, whether they see it as an opportunity. Clearly both very good spinners. Hasn't been as much movement for India's faster bowlers. I suppose they're more seam-based attack than swing-based attack. New Zealand found more movement in the air, but India's bowlers looking for movement off the pitch, and there hasn't been as much for them, hence the move to spin.
Bish, he's been somebody who's very successful against New Zealand, albeit it being mostly in India, but the times he's bowled to New Zealand batsmen, he's got a lot of wickets, 48 to be very precise.
22 without loss, maiden over.
Kingy, next over, can I do a little thing on Latham? Because it'll have to be during the seam bowl. Okay.
Bish, India's fast bowlers, a tad short. You think they haven't learned much looking at the New Zealand fast bowlers? The New Zealand fast bowlers turned up very different today. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good question there, and I think we can elaborate on that. I think they could have been the different types of bowlers that Michael Atherton alluded to about New Zealand's swing bowlers. So I want to elaborate on that in a few moments. I just want to ask Michael Atherton, I know he has something that he's wanting to offer to us, and it's interesting, very interesting.
Blimey, that's a build-up. Better not disappoint now.
No pressure, brother. You threw the pitch question to me as a visitor to your shores.
Well, just an appreciation of Tom Latham. Lots of talk about the round-the-wicket attack, but how well he has left the ball. It's fundamentals of opening the batting in England. You leave the ball well around off-stump. You force the bowlers to come to you by forcing them to bowl slightly fuller, slightly straighter, and then you work them away to the leg side. It's nothing new, it's nothing flash, but it's excellent judgment. And if you want to be successful opening the batting in England, that's what you've got to do early on.
Shami's look probing those. Hustling pace, bustling pace. Man in a short leg. And given the seam position that, like so many of us, he presents, if he does get that full enough length without over-pitching, there's still something in the surface to reward bowlers like him.
Great take, Rishabh Pant. Great take. I think Rishabh Pant can definitely have a look at how well BJ Watling kept. It was an absolute masterclass. We just showed a small snippet of how he was, moving, keeping his head still, and that's very important for a keeper. Rishabh Pant, if at all there's been a complaint, so to say, about him, it's been only about his keeping more than his batting. His batting has been fabulous, but his keeping has sometimes been a little bit dodgy. But I must say this, in the last 1 year, he's probably the most improved cricketer, keeper.
I watched him in Australia, watched him in India, Rishabh Pant, and there was some marvellous work done behind the stumps with the gloves.
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of credit must go to him, because I think he's put in a lot of work for his keeping. There were a lot of question marks, but the way he's worked on his keeping, it doesn't come to him naturally. So people like that always need to put in that extra effort. He's somebody who's worked harder on his keeping than his batting, and it definitely shows. That England Test series, some absolute dust bowls there. He kept brilliantly. I must say this, massive fan of MS Dhoni.
Asking question, Shami. 24 without loss.
Were you talking about lengths? इसको बुलाना है आपके लिए अंदर मारने से मारने और इसको आपके लिए इसको नहीं ये इधर अगर वो इससे पैडली मार इसको नॉक किया लाला आगे रहना
Probing, they've been probing India, asking, and so far New Zealand have been equal to the task. Ashwin to continue. Yes, the conditions, not sure what they'll offer Ashwin, and it's an interesting experience for him in England, playing for Notts, playing for Worcestershire. He was superb. 5 games for Notts, 34 wickets. 4 games for Worcester, 20 wickets. But in Test cricket in England, 6 games and 14 wickets. But with his experience, he has a big role to play this game.
Yes, most definitely. I think his strength is the ability to think batsmen out. He knows on this wicket, probably the wicket won't give him so much assistance on technically the second day. again, one thing he'll definitely do is bring some consistency in length. He'll keep the batsman at it. If the batsman decides to do anything silly, you're going to be R. Ashwin's bunny for the day. As an Indian fan, you want that to turn a little bit, Pish, a little bit, and we'll get Rahane into play.
Bounce. I love the use of the term we. 24 without loss. Shami's been probing. He's been asking questions probably more than most, Mike Lafferton.
He has, but I'm fascinated by his record in England, Bish and DK, and I'd be interested in your thoughts. That's not an impressive record in England from a bowler who is outstanding in the first place, and secondly, the type of bowler who you would think would do well in England. My memory of the last tour here, when India toured England, is that he was incredibly unlucky, that he passed the bat time and time and time again, didn't quite get the reward that his bowling deserved. The question is, that I'd put to you is, I can think of bowlers of the past in England who've been like that. Mike Hendrick, for example, of many years ago, who passed the bat frequently without taking the edge. Is he doing something wrong? Is he a little short in length? Can he be fuller in length? Or can a bowler just be unlucky from time to time, and that record will naturally change as luck turns?
It's very interesting you ask me this, Athers, and I'll explain it probably at the end of this ball.
It's a tremendous shot. Doesn't get 4, gets 3, but to stand tall on it and steer it. Beautiful to look at.
Coming back to what you had asked, Athers, actually the last series, 2018, I was a player. And watching Shami bowl, the one thing I remember is at the start of it, in the first couple of tests, slightly shorter, but then he got his length way fuller. But by what I would say is sometimes he would be unlucky, but it's unfair to say that he's been unlucky throughout. I think he's bowled some great balls. And the beauty about Shami is his ability to swing the ball both ways. But it's not the swing that is his strength. It is his seam position. And he's probably got the best seam position after S. Srishant that I have seen. He's got an upright seam, a ball that moves off the seam. And to be very honest with you, as much as I'm saying whatever I'm saying, I don't have an answer as to why he hasn't,
But it's a puzzle, isn't it? Because of what you're saying, that seam position is outstanding. England is a place where the ball does move off the seam. You'd think that those numbers should be the other way around. It should be averaging 21, not 21 wickets at 47.
I wish there was a graphic which shows the number of opportunities created. That would probably give an answer to how well he's bowled.
And in fact, a bit like you, that was my memory of 2018, that he did beat the bat a lot. I remember him bowling at Alistair Cook, can't remember which game, but he beat the bat 4 or 5 times and over. And I genuinely felt that he bowled much better than the figures suggested.
Another batsman who he really troubled, played a couple to David Malan. He got him out on the front foot, nicking off.
The opening partnership continues to soldier on, 28 without loss. Ashwin. Very well run. Latham was home quite easily as he used his feet first of all and just continued going.
The identity of the fielder means that you cannot have any hesitation. Jadeja at mid-on, looking very sharp.
I do think that's a very strategic move. I have a feeling Tom Latham plays a lot to mid-on, and that's one of the reasons why he's there.
Come on, Ash.
Good again from the opening pair. What does Jadeja have to offer in this scenario and the conditions? What will he offer with the ball?
With Jadeja, he's a bit of a side spinner because of his action. He doesn't have a massive stride in his release, so he's always a bit of a side spinner. If he is bowling to a right-hander, his biggest mode of dismissal will be an LBW, and the ball doesn't turn, in case you do play for the one that turns a bit. For a left-hander, I think at best he's going to create pressure and then hope the batsman is going to make a mistake. That's the only one. And the edge to slip.
Oh, 31 without loss. Yesterday, the opening pair for India added 62. This pair so far for New Zealand, 31 ongoing. Seen too many short balls yet. Just over. Extra bounce. And Shami, in the words of Michael Afton, still living unfortunately from 2018.
Yeah, he hurries batsman, doesn't he? The ball seems to nip off the pitch. It's the second time that he's found a little bit of extra bounce and disconcerted one of the New Zealand openers, this time the shoulder of the bat, just saving Tom Latham. Just not able to reach high enough.
He's wrapped on the pads. Batsman a couple of times. Just going back to your point about Shami, look at my own philosophy, and I don't often compare generations. I try to stay away from that. And I've got a growth mindset to accept the current generation as they are. I still believe, for me, that bowling in English conditions are the most rewarding for my bowling experience than anywhere else in the world because of the seam movement. The ball swings more for longer here than anywhere else that I have played. It's a matter of runs or leg byes, runs. And if you've got the type of pace that someone like a Shami has or a Jasprit Bumrah has, and any semblance of skill or control, I think I'd give you, your acceptable returns over enough time, test matches. I think anything above 28, 30, you'd want more from yourself. And I hope I'm not setting standards too high. Virat Kohli would want Shami, he would want Ishant, he would want Jasprit Bumrah with a lot of experience now, this group, to eat into batting in this series, this tour. Because there is that, and he's got enough pace, he's got skill, age 30, so I'm expecting a lot from him.
Athers, just as I asked, they've come up with this false shots induced, something that you would love to see. I'm probably thinking if you asked this question to me with this, I would have completely explained to you why Shami is a touch unlucky.
Well, I genuinely think he is an unlucky, or has been an unlucky bowler here in England, but how long can you keep saying a bowler is unlucky? This is his 9th test here.
272 Athers just from one tour. England vs India 2018. That's 43 overs of bowling almost. That's a lot.
That's why you can't go on saying that forever. And I like Shami, I love Shami. He's an improved bowler as well. But he has got to know, why was I unlucky, and make the adjustments this tour, is it? Well fielded. 36 without loss.
I can remember, Bish, just harking back one more time to days gone by, a tour that you came on in the mid-90s with the West Indies team, and Andy Roberts would have been team manager or team coach, and he tried to encourage Curtly Ambrose and Courtney Walsh to bowl a slightly fuller length. Curtly in particular, from memory. Not quite sure how well the advice went down. Sometimes a bowler has a natural length, and it's quite hard to change that natural length, or not.
Interesting bowling change, Bish. Just the 3 overs for Ashwin. And here comes Jasprit Bumrah.
Yeah, last over to T, so change of ends isn't a bad thing. Yeah, Michael Atherton was asking the question about that Curtly Ambrose scenario, and we've often joked with Curtly about that he used to bowl a good Yorker, for example, in his early days, but after a couple of missed efforts and drives, he's decided 6'7", I'm not giving anybody any chance to drive me anymore, so I'm going to live on that length short of a good length. I don't believe that you should have a natural length. I believe you have a length that you practice, but or you have a length that you would have practiced growing up. But as you go from conditions to conditions, India to England to New Zealand to South Africa, I believe that the best bowlers have to make an adjustment and will make that an adjustment. You look at Kyle Jamieson, 6'8", and bowls a really full length. So I think my advice to everyone is that you have to be versatile enough and be an all conditions bowler in your adjustment. That's just me, everyone will be different.
Bish, one thing I've noticed with Virat Kohli's captaincy, he always likes to bowl Bumrah a lot last over before lunch, last over before tea, last over before day's play. I don't know, he loves that. I don't know if it's a superstition or something tactical.
Well, that's interesting. But Jasprit Bumrah is a trusted bowler across formats, across match situations. You can look at him and trust him whether it's to attack or defend.
Oh, absolutely. I think he's probably been one of the best bowlers going around in all three formats for India, and arguably one of the best in the world. And he's actually used him a lot like this, Virat, just giving him spells of 3 overs, 4 overs, just telling him to come and have quick bursts, but really sharp ones. A lot of the times, especially when the ball doesn't move like how it doesn't in India, a lot of the times, he would always keep the wickets in play. So as a right-hander, you miss one more often than not your LBW. And he's got airspeed, and we know how good his Yorkers are. He's one of the few bowlers who actually gets in the middle of inning around the 50th over. He'd bowl a nasty Yorker to a batsman. Recently in the 88th over to Dom Sibley, if I'm right, in Chennai, batting on 97. An unplayable Yorker.
Over the wicket. They've been good. Latham and Conway have been exemplary in their judgment of when to play, when to leave. There have been 1 or 2 moments which have caused them problems, but generally, for 21 overs, they've been great assurance to this man sitting in the dressing room. Last ball to tee. It's a very good final ball of the over and of the session. But it's a session negotiated very well by New Zealand's openers.
Yeah, excellent session for New Zealand. That I thought Latham and Conway superb together in very testing conditions, even if there hasn't been quite as much movement for India's seam bowlers as there was for New Zealand's swing bowlers. Nevertheless, outstanding opening partnership so far, 36 from 21, but crucially no wickets. New Zealand's day so far.
Lots to think about and stew over for India during this interval. New Zealand have been resolute today, bowling well initially, and now starting their innings off solidly, but still a lot in it. Final session could prove exciting.